All right, let's talk about one of the most crucial things in JavaScript. If you want to write code that's clean, that's efficient, and that doesn't make you want to pull your hair out, you have to master functions. They're the absolute bedrock of the language, so let's dive in and see how they work. I mean, think about it for a second. You've got a welcome message when a user logs in. Then you need a goodbye message when they log out. Maybe a notification pops up somewhere else. If you're copying and pasting that same logic over and over, you're setting yourself up for a mess. It's a total pain to maintain. So this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we stick to that golden rule of programming? DRY, don't repeat yourself. How do we build code that's easy to fix and update? Well, luckily for us, JavaScript has a perfect solution. Okay, let's kick things off with our first section. We're going to get right into why functions are, well, the absolute foundation of just about any program you'll ever write. Seriously, the best way to think about functions is like Legos. They're these little self-contained pieces of code that you build once, you give them a name, and then boom, you can snap them into place anywhere you need them as many times as you want. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually make one of these Lego bricks? Let's get our hands dirty and break down the anatomy of a JavaScript function. So the standard way to do this is called a function declaration. It's got a few key pieces you gotta know. First, the special function keyword that tells JavaScript what you're doing. Then, a name that you pick. After that, you've got these parentheses, which are for inputs. And finally, the curly braces. That's the body, where all the magic happens. And it really boils down to just 4 simple steps. Step 1, you type out the word function. Step 2, you give it a good descriptive name. Step 3, you add parentheses, and listen, even if you don't have any inputs yet, you still need them. And finally, step 4, you add your curly braces and put your code inside. That's it. And here's the best part. Once you've built it, using it is so easy. You just type its name followed by those parentheses. That's called calling the function. You want to run it again? Just call it again. See? No more copy pasting code all over the place. Okay, now this is a super important concept called scope. Think of a function as its own little bubble. Any variable you create inside that bubble, a local variable, is totally private. Nothing outside the function can see it. But the function can peek outside its bubble to see and even mess with variables in the main script. Those are called outer variables. All right, so our basic function is cool and all, but it's a bit of a one-trick pony, right? It does the exact same thing every single time. To really unlock their power, we need to feed them data. And that, my friends, is what parameters are for. Now listen up, because this is something that trips up everyone at first. Parameter versus argument. Here's the simple way to remember it. The parameter is the placeholder in the recipe, like amount of flour. The argument is the actual stuff you use when you bake, like 2 cups. And this is where functions become a total game changer. Our one function can now be a chameleon. We give it one set of arguments, it does one thing. Give it different arguments, it does something else. The core logic is the same, but the outcome is totally dynamic. Okay, so what happens when things go wrong? You're going to run into this for sure. What if your function is waiting for 2 pieces of information, but you only send it one? What does JavaScript do? Does the whole thing just break? Nope, no crash. JavaScript is pretty chill about this actually. It just says, okay, you didn't give me a value for that parameter, so I'm just going to label it undefined. Which is fine, I guess, but an undefined is not a great look. Probably not what you wanted to show your user. But there's a really slick way to handle this. Default values. Right inside the parentheses where you declare the parameter, you just use an equal sign to give it a backup value. How cool is that? Now, if you forget the text argument, no problem. It just uses your default. So much cleaner. So far, our functions have been performers. They do stuff, like pop up an alert. But what if we need them to be more like consultants? We need them to figure something out and report back with an answer. That's the job of the return statement. The return keyword has 2 super important jobs. Job number 1, it's like a stop sign. The second the function hits return, it's done. Nothing else inside that function will run. Job number 2, it hands a value back to whatever called it. You can then grab that value and do whatever you want with it. Okay, everybody, lean in for this one. This is a classic JavaScript gotcha that will drive you crazy if you don't know about it. If you hit enter right after the word return and put your value on the next line, JavaScript sneakily puts an invisible semicolon there for you. Your function just returns nothing, undefined, and you'll be staring at your screen wondering why your code is broken. So how do you fix it? Easy. Just make sure JavaScript knows you're not done yet. You can either start the thing you're returning on the same line, or a really common trick, just pop an opening parentheses right after return. That tells JavaScript, hey, hold on, the good stuff is coming on the next line. All right, we've got the mechanics down. We know how to build functions. But now let's talk about how to build great functions. This is the stuff that makes your code look professional and, not a nightmare for the next person who has to read it. Honestly, a good function name is worth 1,000 comments. It should tell you exactly what it does. And there are some common conventions that really help. If your function starts with get, you expect it to hand the value back. If it's check, you're probably getting a true or false. It makes your code almost read like plain English. Okay, so take a look at this code. I mean, you can probably figure it out if you stare at it long enough, but it's a bit of a spaghetti monster, right? You've got loops inside of loops. It's just not clear at a glance what its main job is. But now check this out. Same exact logic, but so much cleaner. Why? Because we took that messy prime number check and tucked it away into its own little helper function called iPrime. Now the main function reads like a story. Loop through the numbers, and for each one, check if it's prime. Beautiful. And that really gets to the heart of it. The golden rule. One function, one job. It should do one thing and do it perfectly. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Go look at your own code. Where do you have a big chunky function that's trying to do too many things at once? Can you break it up? I promise you, it's one of the best habits you can get into as a developer.